It's a final. The Seattle Sounders won, FC Dallas won, and so each team gets a point, and it sure feels like a loss for the Seattle Sounders, given that they're coming off, a loss last game.
Yeah.
Russell, this has got to feel like a loss, or is a loss in a way.
Yeah, it does. It feels like a loss, but you're in the point. You and I talked about it upstairs. The one goal you did score was an own goal. Yes, it was, your buildup caused the own goal. But then you give up a heartbreaker right before the half, which takes away the 3 points. Can't do anything in the second half. Despite dominating possession, despite, statistically dominating this game, you have nothing to show for it besides 1 point against a team you should handle at home.
And really should have handled. And so there's obviously two issues here, right? And Brian Smetzer talked about it. Those two issues being, look, they're not scoring. We just opened with that. And then they are obviously letting in goals.
Yep.
That is, in what 5 goals in the last 3 games?
Yeah, it's concerning. This is a team that Schmetzer talks about a lot. We have a lot of clean sheets. The Sounders have a lot of clean sheets. But as of late, that the dam has a little bit of a crack in it, and teams are starting to score goals, and it's coming at a time where the Sounders can't score goals. So that's the problem. It's two problems happening at the same time. It doesn't equate to wins.
I think the dam is a major crack, and I asked him, and we talked about this about post game, not this one, on Wednesday. And the issue here was that, they're letting in these goals where teams, and now I think they're coming down the middle.
Yeah.
If you saw this game today, the San Jose goal, the FC Dallas goal that you talked about right before halftime, is you get a runner that splits the two defenders, two center backs.
Yeah.
And nobody says, hey, you know what, I got him or you got him. And then also the midfielders are not tracking back.
That was a problem we talked about many times. We saw last year, the unmarked man right up the middle to split you down the middle. It hasn't been as much of a problem this year, but it's coming back. It's rearing its ugly head again, and that's a concerning thing to have halfway through the season.
And it is concerning, but I also think that teams have realized, let's attack them.
Yep.
Let's attack the belly of the beast, and that's what's happening. So here is a couple, I would say, poignant post-game quotes from Brian Smith.
Go ahead, please.
Brian, going back to the team defending, specifically on the goal, and like you said, there's a pattern there. Is that the miscommunication or lack of commitment for the midfielders to come back, or is it that the center back's pushing up?
Well, you guys can rewatch it again. I think it's a combination of all those things, Moss. I think we, just needed to do a better job as a group, as a collective in that moment. Especially giving up goals right before halftime gives the opponent belief, and it's classic. You score right before halftime, it gives you some belief going into halftime. We should have closed the half out 1-0 up, and we would have been able to dictate tempo and control the game. Great. I think I just saw something 1.3. I know these guys have come up with a stat that we're top of the league in expected goals, to which I say, Jeremiah, doesn't matter. We will sort through some of the ideas that we've given them. We've tried to add to some of those, but I don't think everything is broken. But we do need to fine tune it, make sure that we understand when the ball is here, what the responsibilities are here, the movements inside the box, make sure those are clear.
2 games for me in particular, but it's good to get a start, good to play 90, good to be back, and hopefully we can get back on the winning train.
What is the spirit, the attitude right now? I mean, it seems like it's a frustrating week, a frustrating end to a frustrating, first half of the season.
Yeah, it's part of being part of the MLS, right? The ebbs and flows of being a team and a franchise in the MLS is tough. This is a competitive league, and there's times where you feel on top of the world, and there's times where you're at rock bottom. So for us, it's about obviously playing well, but getting results, right? It's not enough to just play well and feel like you deserve 3 points. You need to just win those 3 points and grind out games and not necessarily win pretty at times. And I think that's where we have to find the right balance between being tough to beat, right? Not conceding goals that we shouldn't, and also playing, the pretty football that we're used to seeing.
Is that having an execution mindset then? Just kind of in terms of scoring, like getting the ball in the back of the net?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, being more direct at times, right? Winning second balls, defending, pressing as a team, having that grit, obviously defensively, and then offensively, right? There's put the ball in the box. Good things happen when the ball goes into the box. You saw the goal today, and you make runs that create space and cause a little bit of havoc in the box is something that we've been lacking, I think. And so for us, I think finding that right balance.
Leagues Cup's coming up, obviously. I mean, the mindset there.
Yeah, it's you treat it like a group stage, obviously at first, and then comes the knockout games, the games that you kind of prepare yourself for, or that prepare you for the playoffs. That's the kind of format that we're looking at, and it'll be important to start off in the right way.
All right. So there we heard of Brian Spencer, again, kind of, putting an exclamation mark to the two things that we talked about, just in terms of they got to score goals and they have to play better defense. Okay, so what has to happen for them to do that?
We can start with the offense, because we talked about the giving up a lot of goals lately. They haven't had they've had 2 multiple goal games since May. That's not good. I think they're 1-0-1 in those matches. They tied, I believe, with Charlotte, and the win down in Vancouver. And then the tie with Charlotte, the draw with Charlotte. That's tough. And Christian Roldan talked about it. You got to get more people in the box. The triangle passing was beautiful today, but you talked about it. Stagnant if it's not those 3 people possessing the ball. You got to get runners. You got to get people creating space as well, because right now the offense is kind of flat-footed.
And that is, that's a frustration, right? Because for a while there, Brian Spencer talked about, we got to get the midfield playing the triangle. So they master that, right? So as we're talking about, so when you've got that triangle, you've got that midfield going on, you need runners not only in front of you, but you also need them from, the far post and the near post, right?
Yep.
We only saw that once. Again, the pressure in terms of Leo Chu going down the line and then finding Christian Roldan, and again, to your point, he doesn't score, but his pressure, right, causes the defender for the own goal. So you have to have multiple runners on both sides of the person with the ball, and that's just not happening.
Well, and I think a lot of talk is, this was a great game statistically. This was all but the goal. But you and I talked about it. If you don't finish, was it really worth the possession? Because FC Dallas was fine sitting back and letting you pass with the triangles and having possession, because they know clinically you're not finishing. You're not being threatening inside the box. So they're like, okay, we'll sit back and we'll take our one chance. They got it. I believe both teams had 2 shots on goal, but the Sounders took, I think, 10 more shots overall compared to FC Dallas. So we saw it post-game. FC Dallas coaching staff got up and celebrated. Seattle Sounders coaches little heads, a little low, because it just shows that, one team got the execution, one team didn't.
And it's a pattern, and so what has to happen on the defensive end, I think that it was a little disheartening today, because again, about that goal, because you have Stefan Fry back now after missing 2 games where they let up 4 goals, right? And then so he comes back. You would think that there would be some steady influence, some comfortability, you know what I'm saying, communication from the back. That didn't happen, and that's fine. So up next now, right, they play
Leagues Cup now. Leagues Cup in a week, week from today. Got All-Star coming up as well, so Jordan Morris. And, it's interesting. It was talked in the locker room, is this going to relight the fire? Because it's a new competition, there's knockout stages, there's this and that. You see different opponents, obviously, not with Salt Lake, but Monterrey coming in here in a couple weeks. Does that reignite you? Hopefully it does, but I feel like this is too veteran of a team where they need something to reignite them. It just seems silly that would be what gets them going again.
Yeah, I think what they need to reignite them is commitment and accountability to self. That's what's really missing in here, and that has to happen very quickly, because after the League Cup, you only have 10 more MLS games. I'm sure they'll be in the playoffs, but right now they're, 3rd, 4th now?
Yeah, and they make it. They're historically, anybody's been watching, this is a team that makes a late, rally and, ends up making some crazy thing, and maybe we'll talk in that MLS Cup on this Field, in a few months and saying, oh, well, we were overreacting. But right now it's the stage of the season where we're saying, hey, we got to get our stuff together. And hopefully Leagues Cup is the igniter. If not, you got Atlanta United, I believe, is the first MLS match after Leagues Cup. No easy task. So, you got to get right back to it. So hopefully they wake up soon.
Yeah, and they have to get right, each individual person. All right, for Post Game on the Pitch, I'm Masvita Maraire, and he's Russell Brown. Thank you all for watching and listening. Don't forget CascadiaSports.net.